What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Live, episode 97, Topic 1. I'm Alex. This is our conversational show, a show that airs every other week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, where I talk about random topics. Now, we are still in October, and so I still want to do Halloween-related topics for the month of October. Now, last week, every weekend, I should say, every Sunday, we record and we review a horror movie. So the first horror movie we did last Sunday, not yesterday, but last Sunday, was the first Scream movie. My favorite horror film ever. That's my favorite horror film that I've ever watched, and I reviewed it on the channel. Now, for this topic, I want to talk about Scream 5, and I want to do it kind of how we do this for Gamescast now a lot, where I talk about, if we will get another entry in a franchise. And I do that for a ton of games. I've done it for a lot of games in the past, but I want to do it about Scream, because Scream is an insanely important franchise to me, but definitely go watch that review, because I talk a lot about also what Scream just means to me, and how popular of a franchise I truly believe that franchise is, and that movie franchise is just super good. I mean, yes, it had ups and downs. Yes, Scream 2 and Scream 3 were not the greatest, and especially review-wise, Scream 3 was not reviewed very well at all. But Scream 4 bounced back in a huge way, came back after many years off, and did really, really good. It didn't do spectacular, either, both critically and commercially, but, the figure of Ghostface and what Scream is, and Neve Campbell's character, Sidney Prescott, and everything there, that is a franchise that can stand the test of time, and it has. The first three Screams have stood the test of time. Scream 4 does the same thing, and Scream 4, revitalized, and obviously we lost Wes Craven, and that's the biggest blow to a Scream 5, and throughout the years, I've heard so many stories, and there were several times where a Scream 5 seemed like it could possibly be worked on. If you go back and you just type in Scream 5 and you go to, news on Google or whatever, you'll see throughout the years, even since Scream 4, that it was always iffy, that it was maybe we'll do a Scream 5, we'll just see how it goes. The script was never right, or the writers would get fired, or Wes Craven wouldn't like it, or whatever, or they just couldn't get people together. There were so many reasons, and then obviously when Wes Craven died a couple of years ago, that was a big blow. But even since he died, there has still been articles saying, we still think we could do it. And however, there also have been articles that said, we don't think we could do it nearly as good, or we don't think we can do it at all without Wes Craven's guidance. Now, he obviously did create the franchise. He's the guy behind it all. He was on the TV show, so he helped along with that too. So he has a big, amount of influence in the Scream franchise. But, he's just one man. And I think the franchise obviously did come from him, and he created these iconic figures, not just in Scream, but in general. But I feel like it can be done without him in general. I feel like you just have to think like him, and he's had people that have worked with him on the movies, on all four Screams, that would step up and take the role. And I think that's one of the articles I read, is somebody, maybe a producer, I don't even remember the guy's name or his role, but he worked closely with Wes Craven in these films. And so, he could do it. It's just that he is kind of wary about it, because you wouldn't want to first do him any discredit by making a bad movie, and you also, he's been the one that's been behind the reign for the Scream franchise for all these years, and then you'd have somebody else taking over. Add that on top of the cast is getting pretty darn old. I mean, this cast was not extremely young when the films came out, and that was 22 years ago. They got to get moving on here. Courtney Cox is in her 50s. Neve Campbell is closing in on her mid-40s. She's 44, 45. So if they were to do this, they would need to do it quickly. They would need to start to introduce the future of the franchise, which, they did. They did that in Scream 4 by introducing new characters. Hayden Panettiere, she was in it, and she was somebody that a lot of people thought could be a main character going forward. Now, they haven't made another movie since then. It's been 6, 7, 8 years since Scream 4. So, they did what I think people expected them to do in Scream 4, is bring back the original cast and then start to kind of grow and make it a little bit younger, and obviously revitalize it and make it something that people would see nowadays. And they did that. And like I said, add a new cast. And in a weird way, we do a Pirates of the Caribbean community series on this channel. We talk a ton about Pirates of the Caribbean. They kind of were doing that, where you have the old characters, but you start to introduce newer characters to try and lead the franchise going forward. And that's great and all, but but you can't really do that if you don't have a franchise going forward. So, a Scream 5 is super messy. I would absolutely love a Scream 5. I think now's the time. Ghostface is still very popular. People talk, especially around this Halloween time. You'll see people dressed up as Ghostface. You see it in Halloween stores. You'll see the mask. You'll see the knife. Scream is still a very, very popular franchise. The TV show, yes, canceled after 2 years, but made it 2 years on a TV show. And you still see the TV. You still see Scream on TV and on Netflix and all that stuff all the time. So it's still a very popular franchise, and it's not as popular maybe as it once was, but that's also just because they haven't made anything from it. But the legend of like Ghostface and what he still means, or that figure still means to like Halloween culture, it's still very, very important, and I still think it could work in a future movie. I really do think it's possible we get a Scream 5. I wouldn't want to reboot. I would want an official Scream 5, even if just to say this is the last one with the original cast. Like, we're going to bring back Neve Campbell, we're going to bring back Courtney Cox, we're going to bring back all these guys, and then this is it with them. And then maybe we'll do future ones with newer people. That's what I would want to see. I would want to see a definitive end to their story and then have a new cast come in. That's what I would want to see. And I still think it's possible. Neve Campbell has never said absolutely not. She'll never do it again. She's always said, it's kind of a wait and see thing. If they really, really want her and the script was really good, she would do it. So, they just need to put things together. And then it's, like I said, it's always gone back and forth with getting close but not close enough and all that stuff. So it's definitely possible, but it's unlikely. It's unlikely. There needs to be some things that go right in order to make it happen. But hey, lots of things that look unlikely that just randomly happen. That happens all the time in gaming industry and the movie industry. Happens all the time. So I don't think it's impossible at all. But let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think about Scream? Do you think we would ever get a Scream 5? Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast. Now, these Podcast Now Live topics go up every other week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On Wednesday, we'll have a brand new topic, and I hope to see you guys there.